You all have read it on Facebook, the information about him. He runs his own part of the Thomas Associates. He's also a social activist, if I remember, and a lot of other things that he's done. In fact, with the Apollo hospital nurses, he was the one who was behind it to raise up their salary. So he's very involved, and the Chip Academy teachers know him very well because he came there already. So can you give a big hand for Mr. Thomas? Well, good evening and thank you so much for coming. Okay.
Looks a little different because when you question people, they are kept on a low platform. So you put me in a higher platform and ask me questions.
Next time we have a spotlight also.
We normally ask questions. This is the first time they are asking me questions. Lawyers do ask questions.
Right. I'm going to dive into it, and obviously towards the end, we're going to ask him to share his testimony and to talk about his faith a lot. But to start off with, here's the first question. Justice is never given to those who speak the truth. For example, in 1610, Galileo published his discoveries in a book called The Starry Messenger, describing his observations with the new telescope. He proposed the theory of tides, arguing that the tides were evidence for the motion of the earth. Until that time, people believed that the earth was the center of the universe and everything revolved around the earth. So when Galileo proposed this new theory, the Roman Inquisition sentenced him to indefinite imprisonment for being a grave suspect of heresy. So throughout history, it's clear that most people who have stood up for the truth have been denied justice. What is your response to that?
If you speak the truth always, it is not necessary that you need to get justice. Truth is different. Defying the law is different. There is law. You have a set rule. And if you break it, you are bound to be punished. And when you've broken the law, you go and speak the truth, there is no point you can get punished.
Don't you think the law should be based on the truth?
Correct. See, this incident which he says happened during the medieval times. Okay? In the medieval times, what happened was the church was the one which was supreme. And for them, everything which they wrote was the rule. So whatever the sovereign, that the kings, used to always make sure that they follow whatever edicts they say. At that point of time, whatever they said was heresy, you were actually sentenced to. And they had these tribunals, which is called the Roman Inquisition. Okay, so these are tribunals. We call them as tribunals now, which are set up by again the church. And the problem over there is what? When they accuse you of a crime called heresy, the burden of proof is on me. If I am accused of heresy, I have to prove that I have not done anything wrong. And you know what kind of tribunals must have been at that point of time. He was trying to defy the Pope. The king would not do that. The king would not do that. The king would not do that. And Galileo did that. It is truth now. At that point of time, it was not truth. Because it took time for that to be known as the truth. So truth is different from breaking the law. At that point of time, he broke the law. He was punished.
I agree with that. That goes well. Okay. As common people, we live outside the four walls of the courtroom. We don't know a lot of the verdicts and what happens inside, how he gets punished, who gets punished. Let's take two examples of today's India, the Gujarat riots or the Delhi riots after Indira Gandhi assassination. As a lawyer, if you were hired to defend the perpetrators of the crime, would you defend them? That is, if your clients were the rioters, how would you plead your case?
I'm a lawyer for 17 years, so I don't want to take a risk of what is subjudiced. Because both these matters are pending before court. I can't hear. I have a volume monitor. Yeah. The question that you asked is, would I be the lawyer for the perpetrators, isn't it? I remember an old joke. There was a judge who was retiring, and so the bar was asked to come and take photographs along with him. So they all assembled and they had to catch all the members of the bar, that is the lawyers, come stand and we were to take photographs. They made them stand. The photographer was tried his maximum to bring a smile out of the lawyer. He said, cheers, they would not smile, except the judge, okay, they would not smile. He said, smile, he would not smile. He said, hallelujah, no chance, he would not smile. So the judge went next to the photographer and said something. He went back to his seat and suddenly the photographer said, fees! All of them started laughing. So you know what the lawyers are prone to? Fees. All over the world, when there's lawyers work for fees. For fees, they're supposed to do umpteen number of jokes about lawyers. I'm not saying that there are good lawyers at all. There are good lawyers. Okay? There are a lot of good lawyers. Again, it's the decision between your personal conscience and your professional duty. And the stand you need to take is before you are hired by the fellow, whoever it is. So the stand you need to take is whether in your continuation of the work for this client, your personal conscience would prick you. If it does not prick you, you can go ahead with your professional duty. I'm a first generation lawyer and work was very hard till 5 years back. Work was very hard. Very, very hard. First generation lawyers, it's like you have different stages where you have no work, no money. After sometimes you have work but no money. Sometimes you have work and money. So we have different stages. So God was good to me. I could actually grow up. When it came to defining clients, somehow I could actually, when I talked to them, could find out whether they were really worth arguing.
And you had the freedom to make that choice.
I had the freedom to choose my clients. And I made sure that I choose the client wisely. And at some point of time, or at no point of time, my personal conscience pricked me. These fellows had come to me. See, I'm not saying that all of them who are known as accused in these riots must be real innocent. Because the real people would have gone out. There would have been some people who would have been nearby. Somebody saw them falsely identified by them. So there must have also been people of wrong identity over there. So they also need to be. They also need to be actually given a counsel. So as for me, the question was to me whether I would take up the case. So in most of the cases which came to me, if I knew that the person is a victim himself, then I would take up the case. I have no comments as far as Godhra is concerned, as far as Delhi is concerned. God is the God of justice. At one point of time, the whole thing will come out.
Wow, okay. No, hypothetically, let's say Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister now. Will you take up Amartya Sen as your client?
Okay,
You will.
I will.
And
But let Narendra Modi be president, Prime Minister.
Okay.
Because what Amartya Sen said was out of his own conscience.
Right.
He never blamed any party. He only said he is not fit to be the Prime Minister. And that is his personal opinion. If it was in medieval times, like Galileo, he would have also been in prison. But now we are in a time of freedom. It's a time of freedom of speech. Earlier we had the Official Secrets Act, now we have the right of information. So we have become more free. And this is a time when this particular person can view his opinion and his opinion is fair. He says that person is not fit to be the Prime Minister.
Yeah, but if Narendra Modi is the Prime Minister, Amartya Sen won't have that freedom. And you being his lawyer is not going to have much
No, but even
work for their honor.
No, but if he was the Prime Minister and Amartya Sen had said he's not fit to be Prime Minister, his words are okay. I don't think there's nothing wrong in that. Because that is his view.
Yeah, but then Narendra Modi is going to kill him. Going to straight away make sure that he's not
at this age. Because he's a noble literate man. Come on, he got his Nobel Prize and all that. He's got Bharat Ratna.
And they ask
he
him
cannot do all that.
to give it back right now.
To a small lawyer like me, he can't do that.
Okay, we're thinking of you as a big lawyer. Okay, next question. If you were in Pontius Pilate's shoes, Pilate, Jesus, the Roman judge at that time, right? So he was forced to make a verdict knowing that Jesus was innocent. What would you have done? If you were Pontius Pilate, what would you have done?
That's the role of a judge. I would rather continue as a lawyer. senior friend of mine who was actually offered judgeship. And when they asked him why you declined taking the judgeship, he said, I'm used to speaking nonsense, not hearing nonsense. Used to hearing nonsense. So that's a... Now, to be a judge, the few things which he can only interpret the law. He can only interpret the law. So, with the set facts which he has been given to Pilate, he should have actually... So, with the facts, Pilate said he's innocent. Pilate said he's innocent. But Pilate had to be influenced by the media, the present day media, no? They already proclaim people guilty. The Nupur Talwars and all are guilty now for the media. So the judges are forced to take decisions because they are scared to write a judgment because it will go against public opinion. That's what happened to Pilate at that point of time. Because the public were actually paying for the blood of Jesus. And Pilate was there. If given to me, at the point of time, I would have said not guilty. Not because I knew he's going to be God. He's God or something. But because of the facts of the case. Because of the facts of the case produced there, I find him not guilty. Not guilty.
We're going to get a little deeper here.
Yeah.
We're going to get a little deeper. If you knew the prophecy that Jesus had to die, and then you were Pontius Pilate, what would you have done?
I have the knowledge of what happens in this set of circumstances because I am there in this field for some time. What happens is my professional duty cannot come in the line where I am having the spiritual inclination of having known this prophecy. The best thing which I would have done is I would have withdrawn myself from being the judge, saying, let somebody else try him. That's the best thing. Because what happens is, at the end of my judgment, I need to tell why I find him not guilty. Okay? And if he said that it was because of the prophecy which I had got, then actually it would be in the judgment if they said, it's like the present judgment which came on which said that a person who is convicted cannot stand for election. If he is inside prison at the time of filing of the nomination, cannot be. It's actually unfair when it looks from the constitutional point of view because anybody can frame anybody and then you cannot stand for election. So that is actually not a proper judgment. So my judgment would have given saying that I find Jesus not guilty because I heard this prophecy that he is Son of God. They would have laughed at me. Rather withdrawn myself from the judgeship, let others take the verdict. Pronouncing them guilty or not guilty.
So you would have gone completely by facts.
See, I have to do duty to the job given to me as a lawyer, as a judge. As a judge, I cannot be influenced. I cannot be influenced. Only the facts given to me, in interpretation to the law at hand, I am supposed to pronounce my judgment. Nothing else.
Yeah, but you're a Roman judge. You're not even a Christian. You're nothing to do with Jews. You're nothing to do with them. You're a Roman.
Whatever it is.
But you just know this prophecy.
I'm telling you about myself. I told it already.
This is a smart boy. Okay. Let's come to your personal life. Right? You've stood for the Lok Sabha elections and did not win due to a variety of reasons like maybe lack of money or lack of political clout or cultural reasons or whatever. What are the reasons? What was your personal response to that election, to that whole process as a lawyer, as a husband, as a father?
The choice of standing for election was collective. We have been getting together as some intellectual boys along with some others for a long time, and we had started this party with an aim to bring a change in politics. One thing I have to be telling here is that I knew from the very beginning I would not win. Because they are on a big start away from me. These politicians, I respect them after the election, because they have a big start. They're far ahead of me in terms of wealth, in terms of influence, in terms of cadreship, in terms of everything. We're small. We're fries. But the only thing we wanted to do was, see, we are standing. Maybe today we will get that 3,000. I got around 2,800 votes out. So we just wanted to tell them that, see, we are coming up. There are people who want to show some accountability in politics coming up. I think in the next few years we will catch up with them. But we want to tell them, be careful. People are there. So that was the reason why we stood for politics, for this elections. The next question you asked me was,
so you never looked at it as a failure?
no. I would not term it as a failure. It gave me a lot of recognition as a Christian. I was called to different places. I was recognized that, because the media gave me a lot of mileage. I've been thankful for the media because they gave me a lot of mileage. And they wrote many good things, some which were not mine, but because they interviewed me and got it the wrong way, they wrote many things which were not mine also. But they wrote a lot of good things because what we expressed, if we were to win, we were telling their media, and that they expressed that. So it gave me a lot of recognition. I could go to places, I could meet people, people would talk to me on what we stand for, what are our objectives and what are our ideas, and all that we could tell. And I could also tell that as a Christian, why I had stood for election. And that was that was actually a platform in which I could make use of. And the next question which you asked was, what was your reaction as a...
No, so it wasn't a failure, that doesn't work.
No, it was not a failure. In fact, it was a success because we have now gathered some support. People know us. See, these are guys from Youth and Students Party. That's Thomas Jacob. And this is guys, they have some kind of popularity among public. Might be they will not win, but they have kind of sway. So next time we stand now, we can at least challenge them saying that, hey, you do better, or else there are people catching you and all. One question which you asked me, which I need to answer, was how did my wife react?
Okay, as a husband, yes. As a husband.
More than my wife was my father-in-law. He said, I'll take my daughter away. He said, the whole thing is getting tricky. He said, soon after marriage, first of all, he was not very happy. He was a lawyer. Second thing was, initially cases were very limited. So I started doing this human rights cases. So I filed cases, human rights cases, you file against police officers. And sometimes I came on TV. So my father-in-law saw it in Kerala. He called me and said, I want to take my wife again. Elections were the last straw. So he was not very happy. But then he understood that it was not that very risky because I was a small fry. I was not that, I was not a challenge to the mainstream politics. I think next time we stand it. My wife always supported me. She supports me still now. She thinks whatever has had us.
He just had a third baby also 3 days ago. Right? Matthew 18, 21 to 35, the parable of the unmerciful servant. Right, I'll be there. This is the story of the king who was merciful to a servant who owed him so much money. But in turn, the servant was not merciful to his debtors. A clear story of how a boss shows mercy, but the worker does not reciprocate the same mercy to his subordinates. A lot of people here in this audience, or maybe everywhere, would feel that they are not heard adequately, or that they have not got the best from their bosses with regards to job description or salaries or recognition, even at home, recognition from their spouses, or the father and parents and children relationships, they feel strained. What is your message to those of us who are disgruntled and crying out for personal justice?
I think to a limited part of people, because they find their bosses not honoring them for what they have done as injustice. Nobody is perfect. I term injustice as anything. A father, if he gives 2 chocolates to a son and 3 chocolates to the other, he has done injustice to the child who is given 2 chocolates. Injustice there. We would not have been perfect husbands, wives, friends, relative, boss or an employee. We would have had our shortcomings in our areas, wherein we would have grieved the other. Injustice would have fallen on them. But we should not let Satan make use of that. We come back and restore ourselves to the position which God expects us from us. Most of the time when we are in injustice, we have this vengeance within us. We say, no, God, get back at him, get back at him. I have this wonderful verse in the Bible, vengeance belongs to the Lord, and He does it at the best time. For the people who feel that there is injustice done to them, 4 things I need to tell you, 4 things. One is, God is watching. He sees what's happening to you. He sees all the plots of injustice. And nothing gets away from His attention. 2. God is a just judge. His characters are justice. His nature is justice. And at the right time, He will give you justice. Might be it is not at the time that you want, but to meet me in the right time, in His time, but it will be the right time. Most of the time, God might not choose to come and intervene and stop that injustice. Most of the times you must be feeling, no, God, where are you? Not there. Such thing is happening to me. God at the right time would not come. He might not come and intervene and say, hey, you're doing injustice to the people. He might not come at the right time. He's there to heal us. He's there to restore us. He's there at times to give us the justice that we deserve. I think a long time. And we as Christians, all people over here, but because the injustice that we could do was to Jesus himself. There's a man who came, then you betrayed him, you condemned him, you insulted him, and you killed him for no reason. What more better can you do? So, God is a just judge. God is justice, His nature is justice. So, for people who are going through this injustice, or they feel that they are going through times of tribulation where they are being hurt by this injustice done to them, God at the right time will lead you. Wait for His time.
Wait for His time. Okay. Any other questions? Come on, lawyer. It's the time. Attack.
Any lawyer?
No lawyers here.
Say it.
Okay. In your legal world, I'm sure every day, how do you continue to be a follower of Jesus? Like, what do you do? Like, suppose you have a really tough case the next day. Do you like get up earlier and pray? Or how does your day begin? What do you do in connection to God, in connection to Jesus, Holy Spirit?
I go to a church which makes a lot of sound. I'm very happy about that. I go to a Pentecostal church. The old concept is like this, no? Lawyers are liars. If you cannot lie, you cannot win. That's the old concept. Then soon after my enrollment, I met my former principal at the cemetery, and he asked me, so now you're a liar, huh? I said, I was a liar earlier also, sir. So this is the old concept. And if I have the time, I can. A lot of Pentecostals got into heaven. So there was heavy sound there in heaven. So next compound is hell. So there was a lot of sound in hell, and hell people were very disturbed. They said, what is this lot of sound coming from heaven? What do we do? So they thought that they will build a wall so that sound does not come this side. So what happens is, when the people were having the meeting in heaven, the hell people came and built this big huge wall. So by the time the meeting got over in heaven, they came and saw hell people have come 2 feet inside. So the people in heaven thought we should take them to court. So they take them to court. So the case went for a long time, and after some time, the hell people won. You know why? Because the best lawyers are all in hell. So the idea that all lawyers are corrupt are there. They are bad also. Now the question here is asked, how do you, in a legalistic world, still pursue Jesus? I have to say that I have been blessed, or I am so privileged for God to have chosen me to be His son. And also because I could know that the call was for real. The call was for real. I have tasted truth, and I know that I have tasted the truth, and I want to pursue this rather than for this worldly pleasures. I can do that. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that's my prayer. That's why I follow Jesus more than the legalistic world.
Practically, what do you do? Like, do you in a day? Suppose you have a.
See, I am not saying that I am very, what do you say, mathematically correct. Or every time, every morning I have my small times or my quiet times, and then only I go for work. No. Sometimes I also make my own choices, because depending on the situation. But back, ask God for forgiveness, make sure that I give His time, and then get back to work. It's not that I can keep up the routine every day, saying 5 o'clock I get up, I have that 1 hour of quiet time and all that.
Not just that. Have you had an experience where you had to share your faith? You've had.
I have been very poor, to be honest. I have been very poor in sharing it most times. There was one time when I was very embarrassed when there was a time when a friend of mine came to visit me, and on the way back I said, okay, take my driver and go. My driver was a Muslim boy, and my friend on the way talked to him and he gave him a Bible. And this driver came back and said, your friend gave me a Bible. I had this driver with me for 1.5 years. I haven't even talked to him. See, Bible. So that's a lesson for me. First, what I thought was next time if I get an opportunity to anybody, I need to talk. But God has been teaching me, trying to tell people, oh, that's happening.
You don't have to speak between your actions itself. I'm just saying, you don't have to speak anything, you can come in your actions. Have you, has clients come back to you and...
there are times when even through clients also I have learned many things.
Okay.
So it's a learning process and all that. So that's all.
Okay. Last chance. Any more questions? Anybody?
What happens if you're in a difficult spot and you need to cover up the truth?
I need to cover up the truth.
For example, there are times when you are in a spot and it's difficult for you to speak the truth, then what do you do at least?
In the court?
In
In the court?
Yes.
In the court?
Yes.
I have difficulty in speaking the truth. I initially itself told, I select the cases which I know is right. But in certain cases, no. See, I do not know whether the appreciation of evidence is very difficult in courts like ours. But if ultimately it is going to prove a right, and if I have to use a small lie, then I have to do it. Because the ultimate thing is the truth has to win. So the mistake which I would have done would be like, maybe in my cross-questioning I will ask him a question, I will alibi, I'll tell him, on so and so date where were you? I know that he was here, but I would be asking questions like that so that he would be put a report. So that would be only in the form of suggestion, but I would not make sure that it's the blatant lie, for the court to look or for the other side to look and all that. So I make sure I do not do that at all. So that my client or my juniors look at me and say, no, he's no man of difference at all. I do not do that. But there are certain cases where I have done the other way. I told you, wherein I have to put this particular thing to get the truth at the end. Yes? But I have not bored all the...
No. That one statement has stumped me sometimes. I'm just thinking about it. That you have to say a small lie for the bigger truth.
No, it is not a lie.
It's process of how you say
it. It is the process of the appreciation of evidence. So, if I get more time, I can explain to you how our evidences work here. Because suggestions need to be put to the witness, and in that we will have to tell a wrong situation for him to come out with it. So that at the end of the whole thing, it will be the truth which will be magnified.
So you go to the High Court? You come to the High Court every day?
No, I am based in the High Court. There are other courts also there. There are other courts also there, which is the city civil courts, the family courts, the labor courts and all that. So I practice there.
The labor court. Labor court.
Also the labor court.
Where is that?
It is in the High Court campus.
Okay. Because we don't know this world completely, so we're just trying to understand it.
Just land in there, you'll be happy.
Okay, I think we're wrapping it up here. Any more questions? So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. All right. God bless you and your family. All right. We'll be praying for you at the end.
How do you choose to become a lawyer? No competition among the Christians. My grandfather was a lawyer. I had always the desire to be a lawyer. Though I haven't seen my grandfather, there was always a legacy who said that my people around me said that your grandfather was a big lawyer. What you have today is your grandfather's. My dad was fully an officer in the Air Force. And we didn't have much wealth. The wealth that the money that we had was all what my grandfather had got. So that's the desire. But I'm privileged because in our community as such, we have very few Christian lawyers. So getting clients were not, because the Christians have the maximum basis.
Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.